Hi, this is Dr. Brenner again. This is part one of my 3 chapters on the cosmic con game, which appears in my book Paradoxical Wisdom, Just Be Kind. And it actually is a thumbnail way of saying the entirety of this psychological paradigm that I try to talk about having to do with paradoxical wisdom. I'll start with a couple of quotations. One is from Peter de Vries. The universe is like a safe, but the combination is locked up in the safe. Samuel Butler put it, life is like playing a violin solo in public and learning the instrument as you go along. The non-deified universe places us in a giant and elaborate enigma, maze, paradox, or practical joke, which I call the cosmic con game. The cosmos then waits to see who among us can manage to decipher it. The con goes like this. It doesn't matter about our particular rearing, childhood, culture, language, nationality, religion, politics, skin pigment, era, or even century. After all, our species hasn't changed in any basic way for thousands of years. All multiracial humans on this tiny, insignificant, and accidental speck in the universe learn one of a few dozen versions of the same basic game. Although each of us inevitably suffers from the conceit that our game is the correct, superior, and most up-to-date game for all people and for all time. This seemingly inconsequential and egocentric error of logic is woven seamlessly into all that is base and divine, horrible and sublime about our species. For want of a better example, I call this global game chess. As children, we learn the chess rules and strategies of this particular family, neighborhood, school, society, ethos, religion, government, and so on. The better we get at playing chess, the more favors, advantages, and prizes we win. If we're not so adept at playing chess, we can learn to game the system and play a hidden, backwards, and negative chess game within the game. In this nothing succeeds like failure sort of way, we convert defeats into larger negative or backwards types of victories. This secret victory of self-defeat was the paradoxical theme of my first book. In time, we learn a few positive or negative chess tricks and become outstanding positive or negative successes, at least in our own minds. Whether we limp along as low achievers or become wildly successful, we all think that we're really something special or outstandingly inferior. Sadly, this self-aggrandizement or egotism is a necessary phase along the normal course of human psychological development. In fact, positive and negative self-aggrandizement or inflation are essentially the same, but I'll get to that later. The point is that each of us must build up an inflated self-image so that we can later deflate it and transcend it. As Zen masters say, no delusion, no awakening. During our terrible 20s and thrashing 30s, we go out into the real world and test drive our openly or surreptitiously inflated little self-esteems. Unfortunately, however, no matter how astutely or badly we play chess, the universe inevitably, persistently, and randomly pulls the rug out from under us. It's nothing personal, that's its job, to pierce and deflate these oversized self-images and bring us down a notch or two. With each painful rug pulling, the pieces and board go flying and get chipped and cracked. We've bumped our heads, we bleed, and we wallow in self-pity. We even show off our injuries and losses in a backward sort of way by complaining about them. We think that these existential insults earn us special sympathy and status. We manage to convince a fair portion of similarly duped fellow chess players to take pity on us and grant us special compensations, perks, and free rides. We take these rug pullings quite personally. We cry out in anguish to whatever gods may be about the terrible injustice of it all. Why me? Unfair. Why can't the world just go the way I design it? We blame others, fate, circumstances, and even gods. We then clean, stitch, and bandage our heads, clean up the bloodstains, mend the damaged pieces and board, and dust ourselves off. Then we retell and replay the highlights, continue to blame the outside and others, and try to manipulate others to shelter us from having to face, solve, and manage life's requisite riddles, failures, adversities, losses, pains, and tragedies. After all, our eyes are designed to look out there for solutions, not within. We often consult with seemingly more ultimate, credentialed, and learned chess teachers and gurus in order to further reinforce and sharpen our chess strategies and knowledge, so that this will not happen to us again, by God. Thereby, we manage to improve our win-loss records a bit. We tell ourselves that this is working. Sooner or later, however, the cosmos inevitably, randomly, and repeatedly continues to pull the rug out from under us, no matter how much we improve our games. That's its job. If the headbangings are harsh, intense, prolonged, repeated, and painful enough, they just might derail and block our chess game endeavors long enough to get our attention. Thereby they might bang some uncommon sense into our foolish, stubborn, and swelled little heads. It's then that we might do something which is quite atypical among humans. We might be one of the 10% who stop and notice that we may be wrong. What a concept! It dawns on us that no matter how well we play positive or negative chess, the universe pulls the rug out from under our tidy little games every time. It's a surefire no-win, lose-lose. When this finally dawns on us, we're ready to start to comprehend, appreciate, and accept the sacred gift that the universe has been trying to offer all along. This comes in the form of an entirely new, surprising, and revolutionary insight or awakening. This is when we catch on to the cosmic con game. As you may have already guessed, the punchline is that while we're so proud of our fancy chess sets, knowledge, and skills, the universe is in fact playing on the same board, but it's playing checkers. Checkers. This is unbelievable. It's a game changer. No wonder our moves didn't work. They couldn't have worked. We were playing the wrong game. What a grievous, prolonged, disastrous, and catastrophic folly. We're all so completely hoodwinked. Of course, it couldn't have been otherwise. It turns out that our only real job on this planet is not to win or game the standard chess game at all, but rather to catch on to the cosmic con game, to get the cosmic practical joke, to find out what kind of fools we are, and to switch games entirely to the unapparent game, the simpler game that was right in front of our noses all along. Now we can see with newly opened eyes. This awakening, epiphany, or satori is totally unexpected and counterintuitive, a new blind vision, so to speak. The merely two-dimensional chess picture now expands into a totally unanticipated, exponentially expanded, and multi-dimensional program. The real solution, then, is not to persist in fighting the good or bad, win or lose, right or wrong fight. We miss the point by either complying with or gaming this standard and dualistic chess game. Either way, we're all mistakenly attached thereby to the very same useless, mistaken, and futile set of either-or rules. It's this very dualism which constitutes our fatal flaw. We fight between illusory and opposing distinctions until we realize that there is no fight in the first place, that we make the whole thing up. Rather, the real solution is to become enlightened quitters. We must detach from and abandon the original entire original and antagonistic chess game itself. We must change out the whole paradigm and launch into an entirely new, simple, and expanded game, checkers. This changes everything. This full appreciation and acceptance of the essentially absurd, backwards, and deceitful con game of reality is indeed a reluctantly acquired taste. It's also essential. Said another way, we must take our eyes off of the illusion of dualistic win or lose this or that goals in order to notice that our spectacles themselves are the problem. They have flawed lenses, which are prisms, and which split up unified realities into the mirages of apparently opposite extremes. Our supposedly clarifying lenses thus distort the very reality that we thought we were seeing so clearly. Further, we realize that we must throw these self-deceiving, splitting up of reality glasses away entirely and fix our gaze instead upon the prodigious internal and ever-renewing folly. Now we can tend to the real job, that of realizing our own original errors of logic. That's when we can alter them and begin to recover from our immense self-deceit and self-conceit. After all, it's called a confidence game. We're too confident in our distorted illusions. Now we can start